Hello everyone. A massive update in regards to Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, SATP. What does it mean for Quant moving forward? Inquiring minds want to know. But before we jump into everything, we kindly ask you to smash that like. It helps both our channels. And you know the drill? This helps the channel. Decent wallet, not your keys, not your crypto. Get yourself a significant discount. Links are in the description. Here we go.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
All right, welcome back. So with that said, let's jump over to what we are talking about. First thing that's going to come up on your screen is from a particular outlet that you might not even be aware of. It is referred to as Financial IT. And it states, we welcome Swift's newfound focus on interoperability. But as it embarks on its latest experiment, we're working on live institution-grade solutions, and yes, you read that right, built on Overledger, our platform that solved interoperability back in 2018. We also established blockchain ISO standard 2016 and the IETF Secure Asset Transfer Protocol with MIT in 2022. Okay, who's quoting this? Well, you guys know the drill. Gilbert Verdian, literally from his particular own words. So, definitely worth noting, definitely worth pointing out, to say the least, because, again, Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force, and the collaboration with MIT. All right, so what do we have in that regard? Well, Channing and I decided to fast forward to this key area. Is DLT interoperation, implementing the Internet Engineering Task Force Secure Asset Transfer Protocol. I fast forward to this key area. I want you guys to hear this, and if anything, we'll give you some of the new updates and why it matters. We're talking about real implementation. And again, all we ask is that you consider smashing the like. Please subscribe.
Implementation of SATP in Hyperledger Cacti. So going back to this diagram I showed earlier about the network of network vision that we are enabling with Cacti, we are trying to solve the asset transfer problem using relay modules between two different networks.
I thought I would just freeze this because I know, let's face it, some of this can get kind of taken out of context. So let's simplify it for you real quick. Area of emphasis is what he mentioned in regards to the augmentation Cacti relay according to SATP draft specs, SATP standard endpoints, and SATP message parsing capabilities. It's not just applying this, everybody, to the likes of what Swift is doing. Now, here is your highlight. Now, we've seen people like Construction Trader ETH highlight, for example, Qt. I don't have it for you, but it's literally there. And where is it at? Well, it's where it says SATP Gateway. That's your key highlight. And think about that. What would be the SATP Gateway? And why does that matter, especially when it comes to Hyperledger? Well, on a simple search, if you were to look this up for yourself, is Quant's Overledger the SATP gateway for the IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force? Yes. Quant's Overledger platform can be considered the gateway for the Secure Transfer Protocol, or Asset Transfer Protocol, within the IETF, as Quant actively participates in the Internet Engineering Task Force working group developing the SATP standard and leveraging it heavily within their Overledger technology to facilitate secure cross-chain asset transfers, essentially acting as a bridge between different blockchain networks and, of course, using the SATP protocol. There's a little bit more about this. SATP and Quant. Quant is a key contributor to the development of SATP, a protocol designed to securely transfer digital assets across different blockchain networks. All right, what about the Internet Engineering Task Force? The SATP standard is developed within the IETF working group where Quant actively participates. I mean, we've seen this, especially with MIT, Thomas Zerjana, collaborations with Quant. All right, overledger functionality. That utilizes SATP to enable interoperability between various blockchains, effectively acting as a gateway for SATP-based asset transfers. Now, this is going to bring us to this next part. And of course, we're going to kick it over to Channing here in a bit. But I want you guys to see this for yourself. If you go to techtarget.com, it puts an emphasis on Hyperledger Fabric. It says that can be used to improve data privacy. We know about all this stuff going on with GDPR. We understand the whole emphasis on Project Stargate 2025. We understand the significance when it comes to data privacy, hence the banning of TikTok, whether it's temporary and so on. But there's something to be said about whether it's TikTok or it's X or all these conglomerates, as Channing would put it, in regards to privacy. Okay, so Stargate in itself, Oracle addresses privacy, Quant addresses privacy. So much emphasis on privacy, but what about Hyperledger? Well, again, what about it? So as you see here, it talks about the enabling of high-speed transactions with low latency of finality and confirmation according to its proponents, and is supported by leading cloud providers, including AWS, Google, IBM, Microsoft, and of course, Oracle. Oracle being part of that whole thing of Project Stargate 2025, a $500 billion investment into the United States for this quote-unquote golden age. So I'm going to jump back to this, and I definitely want to get Channing's take on this for, I should say in just a brief moment, because the way I look at it is this. Channing, I want everybody to understand that, yes, Quant leverages, as Gilbert Verdian has mentioned, the technologies of every existing blockchain. It's a different form of scalability. Right. We've been there and we've done that, Channing. The other thing to put emphasis on is this. Is scaling up the other infrastructure of the technologies that you can't necessarily buy as far as tokenized versions of that. And what I mean by that is the illustration that we just showed. Amazon Web Services, Google, some of these other things that was on that list. So that list in itself, when you think about it, that bigger picture of, man, GDPR compliance, and again, even Microsoft and so on, people don't realize when you see the terms of finality and confirmation, Quant will leverage those existing technologies. It's not just your Ripple XRPs for interoperability. It's those private, permissionless networks that I think that's a bigger deal in itself compared to most things that fly, let's face, under the radar compared to our typical coins that we own like Ripple and Stellar and so on. I'm not flooding that. I just recognizing that Quant has a different layer that most people simply can't fathom. So I think this is a big deal. We have more updates for you, but again, I want to get your take on this.
That's a lot. So kind of sort of think of it like you just said, layer, right? Quant has a different layer, like an overlay, right? So think of it as IBM, early days of internet, your dial-up, segmented internet. Microsoft comes along, late 90s, early 2000s, puts a layer of code on top of that, essentially, which gives us www, the World Wide Web, both working with the Internet Engineering Task Force, both Microsoft and IBM. Now think of Quant's overledger and things like SATP all tied into that. It's going to be that layer that sits on top of IBM and Microsoft's code, that overlay, that building out that internet of value, the actual, to be able to send money, literally send money, not a message of the money being sent, but the literal money being sent via the internet. That's why SATP is so important, Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, because it is literally securing the assets of these multinationals, these central banks, these corporations. It hasn't officially been announced about Project Agora, who the tech stack is being used, but I'm more than sure, I'm willing to bet that Quant and Overledger and SATP is a part of that is because you literally have central banks tokenizing central bank money. You have commercial banks tokenizing commercial bank money, and these things are being sent cross border. How do you do this in a secure manner? Well, you do it via a standard, SATP. That's a standard, something that we all can come in, we can send and receive and transmit data with each other seamless, securely, because once it leaves one network, it's burned and then it's minted on the other network. So that cuts out any wormholes or loops that could be taken from in the middle. So it's an incredible thing. I say incredible a lot when it comes to Quant Network, but they are just that. Like, they have taken the time to think of almost every piece of web that you can think of and then bring solutions to that. And it's not just them, it's them working alongside of, like you said, MIT and Swift. And like we also know things like Hedera and Ripple and the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve of America, all these NIST, all of these expertise coming together, literally building out a framework so that now once these big institutions start to come to this web to play, via things like your SOB 121 being overturned, and now banks can now start to custody crypto. Well, I want to be able to ensure that, you know, if I'm custodying this crypto and I need to transfer from this bank to another bank, that this is going to be done securely and that I won't lose customer funds in the process. What are you going to tap into? You're going to tap into the standard secure asset transfer protocol. Think of Quant, think of Overledger as an overlay sitting on top of the traditional rails of internet and allowing the traditional rails of internet and those processes and those systems that now reside in the traditional rails of internet, now being able to, that TradFi and that crypto or the Web3 space being bridged together. That's what 2025 is. And that's what things like Secure Assets Transfer Protocol is allowing them to do. Be that bridge, be that gateway, use those APIs so that they can seamlessly integrate into the traditional systems. And it's literally like another day at work. And there it is. But I'll kick it back to you, brother.
Well said, my friend. I mean, you know, I did a collaboration earlier with Will Fix, and we were talking about, like, you know, Indiana Jones, for example, right? It's like he's trapped inside of a, I guess you could say, like a tomb, you know, and there's all these, you know, different doors that are shut, you know, but he needs to get out, you know, and so it's like, yeah, look at Quant, for example. You know, it's like those gateways. You got to get through that gate. You got to get through that door. And all those doors, to a sense, or gates, gateways, they're all shut.
Yep.
You know, but we need regulations for they can all open.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, it's just like, and it's not just that certain area of the temple, right? It's like this will open every area of the temple.
Absolutely.
And then how about many temples? And you know, you guys get the gist. We're going to take you over to a Reuters update now, which I think is definitely important. And let's pull this up on the screen for you. So this is recent. This is from a publication from San Francisco recently, as of February 6th, so not that long ago. It mentions specifically here, ChatGPT maker OpenAI said on Thursday that is evaluating U.S. states as potential artificial intelligence data center locations for its massive Stargate venture, framing the project as a matter of urgency for the United States to beat China in the global AI race. As news emerged about DeepSeek, let's face it, I think we've all heard about it by now, it makes it clear that it's very real competition and the stakes could not be bigger. According to Chris Lehane, OpenAI's chief global affairs officer, quote, whoever ends up prevailing in this competition is going to really shape what the world looks like going forward, whether we have a democratic AI that's free and open or authoritarian, tongue twister, AI that's autocratic. So I want you guys to think about this. It's all about, for example, supply and demand. So we know about Trump and the whole thing of Stargate. We saw SoftBank and all the big players there, right? But these companies, along with other equity backers of Stargate, of course, not just committed to 100 billion. We last saw a half a trillion, 500 billion. All right. So would Texas lead the flagship in that regard? Well, I think that's more than a possibility. So take you to this next part. I want you guys to see something because it gets interesting here. So we said this is a SATP update. So 1 week ago, Rafael Bashir stated that he was excited to announce the publication of Secure Asset Transfer Protocol Yellow Paper with Alex Shirok, Ramakrishna V, and Thomas Harjano. Now, we, of course, know about Thomas Harjano and MIT and the collaborations. Again, shout out to Quant Papa for this. This is game-changing development for anyone interested in the future of digital finance. Tokenization, next generation, payment systems. Think about this, everybody. Payment systems. So many of us get this, I guess you could say, tunnel vision of what we know. As the saying goes, you only know what you know. But there's so many other things out there that, you know, you can't really buy a token that's Hyperledger. You know what I mean? Like Hyperledger really doesn't have its own token. Some people say Soramitsu is that token. Well, that's up to debate, but whatever the case be, the way I look at it is you can invest in the infrastructures that have updates for it. Hence, things like, for example, Quant Network with the Overledger. As we get further into this, I want you to understand that SATP, like it says, represents a standardized approach to blockchain interoperability, enabling seamless asset transfers across different networks. Right. Because of things like Hyperledger cacti and things like, for example, what you saw with the examples earlier of Google, Microsoft, and so on, right? Microsoft doesn't necessarily have its own coin or token, but these are the big things moving forward for the Quant network. So this yellow paper, not a white paper, yellow paper. Why is this significant? Well, if you go over to his reference, you see here, this is roughly 9 pages. We're not going to read all 9 pages, but the significance is this came out late January. Kind of flew under the radar. Again, a lot of people don't get all this information. That's okay. But it's gateways for, what does it say? Institutional grade commerce, interoperability of digital assets. And who do you see? Thomas Harjano highlighting that. And does it mention ISO? It does. But what's really interesting is it mentions specifically ISO 27001. This is why I'm throwing in Jasmy into the mix, because Jasmy is part of that ISO 27001 standard, right? They have their certification with that ISO standard and also ISMS. So again, I'm going to pound that home a little bit more about why this is significant. And are we going to read this, you know, word for word all the way down here? No, we're not. But when you see terms like this about APIs, and how you see how this is all brought together, peer gateways, well, how can we summarize this whole thing? Well, guess what, everybody? I have a little short documentary for you in AI format that will tie in everything and explain it better than I could with actual visualization. So let's learn something, let's summarize this, and then we'll come back for some takeaway from Channy, and of course, the closing bits and pieces from, believe it or not, Gilbert Verdian. So, real treat for you guys. Let's go ahead and play this. Again, smash that like if you haven't done so already. We really do appreciate you. Here we go.
Interoperability between traditional financial systems and decentralized infrastructures is a pressing challenge in the evolving landscape of digital assets. The framework proposed by Rafael Belchior et al. Sheds light on the complexities of this integration, emphasizing the need for security, privacy, and regulatory compliance. As blockchain technology continues to mature, the concept of ledger gateways emerges as a pivotal solution, enabling seamless communication and asset transfers across diverse networks. These standardized service interfaces promise to bridge the existing gaps, facilitating a more cohesive financial ecosystem. The introduction of the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, SATP, further enhances the potential for secure transactions, ensuring that asset integrity is maintained across various platforms. The delineation of different API models illustrates a structured approach to managing the complexities of blockchain interoperability, offering institutions a pathway to navigate the regulatory landscape without the burden of direct blockchain management. The proposal of gateway service providers, GSPs, opens avenues for specialized services that can cater to institutional needs, reinforcing the importance of compliance in this rapidly evolving sector. As organizations look to adopt these frameworks, the ongoing efforts under initiatives like Hyperledger Cacti provide a foundation for collaboration and innovation. However, the journey is not without its challenges. Privacy preservation and the need for diverse regulatory adherence remain critical hurdles that must be addressed. The call for continued research and standardization efforts highlights the necessity for a unified approach to these issues, which will ultimately enhance the interoperability of blockchain technologies. For organizations like Quant Network, this paper validates their vision and positions them favorably within the discourse on blockchain integration. The alignment of Quant's goals with the proposed frameworks offers a strategic advantage, particularly as institutional interest in interoperability solutions grows. By actively participating in the development of standardized protocols and collaborating with other entities in the space, Quant can further solidify its standing as a leader in the realm of digital asset management. As the landscape becomes increasingly competitive, the emphasis on innovation and differentiation will be paramount for Quant to maintain its edge. The insights from this paper not only reinforce the significance of the work already underway, but also illuminate the path forward in the pursuit of a more interconnected financial future.
I mean, the way I look at it is we have, of course, some more from Gilbert Verdian, but there's this new emphasis on SATP. And for me, it's like, yeah, of course there's emphasis on it, because SATP will lead to what's going on with GDPR. And there's a want and need to solve the X problem, formerly known as Twitter, when it comes to privacy and security. There's the whole thing of TikTok. Again, the United States role and so on. And then that means data centers collecting all that data and so on. So when we talk about open up the floodgates, well, it also means just simply having regulation passed for it can all open up. Your thoughts?
So as far as like touching on that data, and so people don't realize everything that you do on the internet is a data trail. It's like breadcrumbs being left, okay? What SATP is going to do is secure and ensure that only you or whoever is supposed to be processing that data. You have, I want to say it was Google announced last year that at a certain date that they're going to stop the whole data sharing thing. It's not because they want to stop the data sharing thing. It's because there's mandates that's actually getting ready to go live as well, so that they will be in compliance so that they can continue to do business. There's something called data democratization that's going to take place in the near future. And that is literally democratizing your data back to you. It is yours. You own it. You will be in sole control over who processes, who uses, who profits off of that data in the future. You know, that's going more so in the realm of the Internet of Things and all of that, but they're laying the groundwork for those things now by setting standards and creating regulations and laws so that the big companies and these big corporations who are already processing our data do it in a safe, secure way. That is like you were talking about as far as like TikTok and all those things. That is truly the reason why. Like, I don't think people truly understand how powerful the collection of data is, and being able to build out a digital twin of you in the data realm. And you don't want anyone with that much information about you that you don't have control over. So that as far as that whole data portion of it, it's like they call it, it's the new oil. The data or data, depending on who's saying it, that's been collected on you, literally already now in 2025 generates hundreds of billions of dollars a year by them selling your data. Hey, you go on Google or you go on some website and you type in Toyota, now you're getting Toyota ads. It's because that data trail that you left was sold to the Toyota company so that they can now start targeting you with ads to get you to come and be a consumer with them. That is, it's almost like it's getting to a point where sometimes you can even just think things and all of a sudden now you start seeing ads. Well, actually, it's because our phones are recording us 24/7. So when we're saying things as well, it's softly recording in the background. Now that softly recorded heard you say something like, slingshot. So now you're starting to get slingshot ads on your social media feeds. It's because it is a data trail that is being left with everything that we do. Every time you swipe your card, every time that you tap your phone for a purchase, every time you search something on the internet, every time that you do anything that's associated with you, and people don't realize, but also your phone number. Your phone number is almost like your new social. People don't understand it, but it is true. I won't get too deep into that. So know that these processes have to get to a point where it is safe, it is secure, especially when you start having big boys swinging lots of money into these spaces. It has to be secure. So what are you going to go with? You're going to go with the protocol that is a part of a standard that has already been tried, trusted, and it's been resiliently working for the past several years, so that we know now that we're going to enter into the space, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with SATP. I want to say Toyota is one of the companies that have already adopted the SATP protocol, if I'm not mistaken, along with lots of other companies. Like I want to say Amazon has also. There's a whole list of companies that have already started the process of adapting and or the adoption of SATP, secure asset transfer protocol, because it is the thing that ensures that once I'm moving this money, it is safe. It's not like what has been happening in Web3 for the last 15 years, where you have all these attacks and you have all these hacks. And whenever money's being moved, you have tokens being stolen this way and that way. And it's literally like two-factor authentication being put on steroids for the multinational corporation, big businesses, your governments, your central banks, and anyone else that's going to be operating securely in this Web3 space. Data and the collection of that data and the processing of that data and the storage of that data in the future is going to be major, because everything that we do is processing data. And understand that right now they're tapping into it and they're making a lot of money from it. And understand, once data democratization comes into play, you'll be able to make money off of your own data. And that's something that we don't have this opportunity right now, but it is coming. Even things like your medical records, all of those things will be tied to this whole data and the democratization of the data. And like Jasmine with the data storage lockers, like all those things that's being built out right now. It's being built out for a reason, because there's standards and there's laws getting ready to be laid down. And these companies are lining themselves up. Like I just said about Google saying we're no longer data sharing anymore. They do it because they're a nice company. No, they made a lot of money off our data. They're doing that so they can be in compliance, so they can continue to be a company. But I'll go back over to you.
I like the idea you mentioned the whole thing of, some of these examples, like for example, storage. The way I look at it is, I don't cover it a lot, but Filecoin. Filecoin is one of my biggest bags. It has been for a while. Obviously Jasmine and so on. But the way I look at it is, all of these point back to either storage, like you pointed out, or data democratization. And so that has to have a lot of value. But when I look at Quant in the same light, it's like, yeah, it's tapping into things that aren't really tokenized if you think about it, right? Like people say, well, Microsoft eventually is going to be tokenized, your Amazons and so on. Yes, absolutely. You are tapping into a gateway, and that is going to open up, for example, smart contracts and so on. And what do we see with the Overledger? Oh, smart contract support for this, that, and this, on and on and on. Yes, they're hypothetical scenarios, but I don't see any other project out there that has those integrations built into their API stack, my friend.
So anybody can create smart contracts on top of or through. It's like you said earlier. Think of the old houses. When you used to have a really old house in like the early 1900s or 1800s, you had something called a skeleton key. And that skeleton key, although all the locks were different, that major key, that one key would actually open up every lock in the house. Think of Quant, think of Overledger and piece with that SATP. Think of that as the skeleton key that opens up every door in the world when it comes to these corporations being able to tap into Web3 without leaving their comfortable spaces of Web2. Understand what I just said? They can now tap into Web3. They can now play in these spaces in their built-out digital twin, but they're still securely safe in the comfort of Web2, where they are already thriving and doing well. It's just now they are opening up maybe a basement door, opening up the attic door to allow more operability to flow in, so that they can now move a little faster, be a little bit more secure, do it in a cheaper way, but still safe inside my Web2 space, because I'm going to tap into what did you call it? The PS, whatever that acronym was for what the services that companies are providing for the corporation, so they can tap into Web3 securely. Whatever you call it, but it's so many acronyms out here. But
yeah, no, there's a lot. I think you're referring to VASP, if I'm not mistaken, but that's okay.
Yeah, you just said it in one of the things that you went over. Yeah. So understand that they are the key. They are the thing that opens up, like you say, that suite of products. And it's not just products, but it's also opening up for the corporations to be able to save money. Think about it. Every business on every level, that is always the bottom dollar. How do I bring down costs so that I can raise profit? Period. And by tapping into Web3, they are now seeing I can bring down costs dramatically on so many different levels, whether that is the supply chain, whether that is sending money securely and cheaply and fast, whether that is automating smart contracts to do certain things that you now have human beings doing. I'm just being real. I'm just putting stuff out there. I'm not shooting for the whole AI robot takeover, but y'all, is coming. Like, I've seen the videos of the robot arms that can flip burgers and make French fries and make pizzas and all of those things. The automation of our normal everyday processes is coming. And having the technology tapped into that, tracking that seamlessly, transferring value between these machines, because it's not just our data, it's also the data that's being collected by the machines, that when they make the burger, or when they put something inside of a box. So like as far as with Amazon or something along those lines, or if it's like, I saw a video the other day of a machine. It was a what do you call the thing where inside the warehouse where they drive forklift, but the forklift is like 5 or 6 of them moving on their own. There was no human whatsoever. They were all AI generated forklifts going, picking up pallets, taking it to the truck, putting it on the truck, placing it down, going to get another one. And that's something right now that a human being does. Think of it once the machines start to do these things, and think of how that AI process and what that processing is, even things like Hedera with the NVIDIA and the Intel. Understand that AI compute, what that means, it is capturing all of these different processes that the AI is doing. So we're moving into a different world, and most people are not ready for it. And having things like Quant tucked away for a rainy day, one day you might be like, thank you, God, I did that.
Sounds like human beings are going to be turning into human beings
Right.
with all the AI. Anyway, listen, guys, we're going to show you the last part. This guy needs to get the honorable mention. He did an excellent job, and he got referenced and recognition from Gilbert Verdian. So let's pull this up for you guys, and it's basically this right here. Is this gentleman. His name is JuanJoarl, if I'm pronouncing that right. He says, introducing new SATP sandbox. See how that works out, guys? By Quant Network, a dedicated testing environment built into the Overledger that lets you simulate and experiment with digital asset transfers between gateways without risking real funds. Again, Internet of Value, Internet of Trust, but Overledger platform, the enterprise standard for building a course on blockchain. This was posted literally, I think, yesterday. He has a lot that gets into, and I would highly recommend you take a look into it. So I decided to bookmark this and reshare it for you guys in the community. Very well written. I'm not going to mention all of this, but again, some highlights for you. So look at this. You know how we talk about shared ledger, unified ledger? So blockchain A network, interoperability. Is that, A network, your Amazons, your Microsofts, again, the hyperledger? What about the blockchain B network? Is that, your some of the other ones that you're familiar with, your Ripples, your Stellars, and so on? What about C network? Well, is that your JP Morgans and so on? Think about it with Quorum, right? Now not called what? Kinesis? They always change the name. But Overledger layer, think about that. That it means a lot of value. As we get further into this, look at the process broken down into phases: initiation, submission of proposals, commencement, commitment, finalization. This layered approach ensures security and, like you see here, how it all comes together. Initiate, transfer, request. I mean, even on make, this is different interpretation, but the make model that we show you with API integration of Overledger basically spells out the same thing that you see here. That's a big deal moving forward. The other thing I want to show you real quick is, like he says here, why is this all important? Well, it's multi-chain environments, built-in checkpoints, ensure transfers complete only when all parties validate them. This trust is crucial for cross-border payments and interbank settlements. I couldn't agree more. So it shows you a little bit about this and how it's all orchestrated. And at the end of the day, if you want to learn more about Quant, you got to, follow people like this guy. Glad to share it. And you see here, SATP sandbox. Again, back to the whole thing you saw originally from that video of Hyperledger, and it mentioned SATP gateway, and we know that basically when it comes to Quant, they are that gateway. So who recognizes this? Well, believe it or not, wow, what an honor. Gilbert Verdian came out of the woodwork and recognized him. So maybe this whole narrative that I'm even guilty of, Channing and everybody else, of Quant don't care about retail narrative. Well, I guess good old Gilbert Verdian still wants to recognize community people, so that's cool. Very nicely explained. New release. Can't wait to see what developers and enterprise will build with SATP. Come on, man. Gilbert Verdian highlights the guy. So we've seen Tokenizer get honored by Gilbert Verdian, and now this guy. And if you think, oh, it's only people that have a big following, guess what? 971 followers. Wow, what an honor to be recognized by Gilbert Verdian. So with that said, your closing thoughts, Mr. Channing Harral. Anything else you want to add, or should we close it out, sir?
I won't go too long. Just know that we are living in truly transitional times, and understand that this transition is happening rapidly. And 2024 was really the laying of foundation. 2025 is adoption. And like they said, adopt or adapt or get left behind. And we're seeing more and more of these major corporations step into this Web3 space because they are not going to get left behind. And Quant Network is there facilitating so much of the transmission of this transition into the Web3 space. Like you say all the time, we're in Web 2.0. We haven't really got to Web 3 yet, but in this realm, this allows 2.0 to play in Web 3, like with sandboxes, but not fully be in Web 3 and fully decentralized. Give it some time, and then they'll make that move all the way over. But Quant Network facilitating things and Overledger's capabilities and the APIs and gateways attached to that, I promise you, you will see. I don't know a time frame, but I'll say within the next few years, major announcements coming out in regards to Quant Network, Overledger, and some of these other ISOs that we hold. Kick it back to you, brother.
I gotta agree with you 100% on that. I know we agree a lot of times, but we could also agree to disagree. How about this, guys? I will disagree with him on this one statement, and that is, we're not in Web 2.0. I would say roughly Web 2.57 or something like that.
Okay, yes, wherever, in that range.
2.0 would have been more of your Facebooks and stuff like that particular area, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, guys, gals, ladies and gentlemen, simply do us a favor, listen to the entire outline, and simply type this into the comments, and that is SATP, as in Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, and we'll know that you listened to the entire outline. On behalf of myself and Channing Harral, who some of you guys asked in the comments, even though this is also airing on his channel, what's his channel? It's at King Channing. So I think it was Maui Mixer asked me about that. So shout out to you, Maui Mixer, and other people in the community. Channing's channel is at King Channing, for crying out loud. So,
and there's been a couple people actually in my comments that said, "Hey, Mac sent me over." So I've seen them, I've responded to them, and I want to show y'all, like I said, Mac, thank you. I appreciate you, brother, for even giving me the platform to do what I'm doing right now with you. So I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you too, brother. And people have given us good feedback, but we won't keep you guys any further. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. With that said, Channing, you got something you want to tell everybody?
Y'all already know. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.